You know, the splendor of spring has disappeared, and suddenly we are left with what's going to be summer, hot, beautiful perennials, and I am excited to be standing here with April Moore.
When we first moved here, there really wasn't much here, and I knew that I wanted a garden. My husband wanted vegetables, so we made a deal, and he would till up a small section, and I would replace it the following year with flowers. Now, we do still have vegetables, but the focus was on the flowers. We designed it from the beginning along a series of color axes, and this is the hot section, the sun garden. So yellow, orange, red axes with shots of purple and blue in it to just keep it from being too hot. It's hot enough in the garden right now. And then over time, we actually filled this entire area with a garden because neither one of us likes to mow.
In here, you've got these beautiful yellow sundrops, primroses.
Yep.
One of the first things I saw was that yellow coming to greet me, that happiness. Let's actually, while we're here, tell us an interesting story about these roses.
So I grew up with roses. My mother loved to grow roses, and it was really difficult where I grew up, but I have always loved them, and I've always grown them everywhere I've lived. Now, the one on the right is Tuscan Sun. It's a floribunda, and it's not particularly fragrant, but it is a stunner, and I love how the blooms change colors. They go from, you know, this fiery orange to reddish orange to paler orange to pink, and it's just beautiful. And it's very tough, like surprisingly tough, especially for some of the modern floribundas. This one, however, is kind of, I would say, my pride and joy. And I don't know the real actual name of it because it was rooted from cuttings from funeral flowers, and it's been in my family my entire life. It's some form of polyantha. It occasionally produces different color blooms, which is strange, but most of the time they're this beautiful, beautiful blaze orange. And I would love to know what it is, but this is one that I'm propagating from cuttings. And this particular bush actually was propagated from cuttings way back in the early 60s.
Wow. So it is a producer all summer long.
Absolutely. And in fact, as long as I keep it watered well and follow a good spray program, I do that for fungicide, then it will just keep going and going and going right through the frost.
Okay, and on the subject of roses, you have purposefully planted a certain type of roses.
Yes.
You don't do the hybrid teas.
I don't do hybrid teas. I have grown them before. I just found that even though they were absolutely stunning, I don't know, I like kind of the romantic cottagey gardens. I like the old standards. And so I tend to grow a few floribundas because there are some very nice ones, but I tend to grow a lot of David Austin English roses and a lot of heirloom roses and a lot of just shrub roses, huge roses, tree-sized roses.
Yeah, and those roses were all on their own root. You actually have created a canopy with some of your taller shrub roses to produce a layer of shade for other parts of your garden.
Absolutely, and then I underplant the roses with things like some of the native geranium species, cranesbills, or I underplant them with larkspurs and columbines, and those will reseed and spread, and they don't mind competing with the rose for the moisture, and they can handle it.
Speaking of columbine, I couldn't help but notice the beautiful yellow native one. It's
a species native to out west, Colorado, places like that. And like our own native columbine, which I also grow here, it's really, really tall. It's just a beautiful thing, and it will bloom for up to 2 months, or at least it has for me the last few years.
Well, that's the best thing, finding those plants that will produce a long-lasting crop of blooms, shall we say. It's not like here today, gone tomorrow. If you want to attract the moths at night, April, tell us about this fabulous plant.
Yeah, it looks pretty sulky in the daytime, but this is Nicotiana. This particular pink one is a variety called Cranberry Owls. The white one is Jasmine Tobacco, and both of these are highly fragrant, and they have very different fragrance, which you can't really enjoy so much now, but at night, they're fantastic, and the blooms just open up and they're beautiful. Easily sown from seed and do really well if you sow in the fall.
So you planted the seeds last fall, wintered them over, inside or outside?
To be honest, I let this one grow in this pot on its own, and it was fine over the winter.
Wow.
I did cover it a couple of times when it got incredibly cold.
But you cut it to the ground?
Yep.
Wow. Well,
They
that's
do really well. They seem pretty diverse, so, and they seem to self-seed pretty easily too, so.
something else that's quite interesting to me because I'm familiar with this plant, but I'm not familiar with this bloom. Tell me about this.
This is a variety of rose campion called Gardener's World. It has a hint of red in some of the blooms, but it's also a double, which makes it fairly unusual.
Right, and that they're very interesting in the garden because they just produce that coordinating color to combine other things.
They go super well with the Sweet Williams I already grow, and I have a type of Salvia here. When that comes out, those colors will all complement each other very well, plus pollinators love them. So.
And this plant right here looks different.
Black Knot Scabiosa daisy. I did kind of go on a red and burgundy colored flower kick, and this one hasn't started really blooming yet, but it has beautiful pincushiony burgundy blooms. It's gorgeous.
Shrub roses can work for many purposes, can't they?
They absolutely
They
can.
can give us shade, but I like this, what you've combined here with this rose.
Well, in this garden, you know, we had to manufacture our shade, and I kind of chose to do it by growing massive roses. But one of the things I love to do, and it's something that that's pretty popular in English gardens, is I love to grow clematis at the base of them so they'll clamber up and just kind of fountain out the top. And so here we have in this English rose, this is the variety Teasing Georgia, we have the multi-blue clematis. And then also below it, I like to plant under my roses geraniums, and this is Geranium Phaeum Samobor. And look at the color of those blooms.
Isn't that pretty? And look, I see under that leaf right there, I see a nice big bloom from the clematis.
Yep.
Right here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so leaf colors, the bloom colors, all, you know, coordinate very well. And plus they're very happy here under the shade of this rose.
Great eye candy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could even plant 2 or 3 different kind of clematis because this will support it. We're gonna switch colors. We're in the red-purple zone now, and lots of plants to showcase these colors. And this salvia, tell us about it.
So I've grown a number of different salvias for some time. I absolutely adore them. The hummingbirds love them, bees and butterflies as well. This is the variety Maraschino, and I have several of these that I actually started and put into pots. I also have a lot of them in the ground as well, but they're wonderful plants, absolutely wonderful. And they will bloom they'll bloom well into June, July, and then they'll usually take a break during the driest part of the year. And so, but then they'll come back with a vengeance in August, September, October, and just keep right on blooming right into frost.
Yeah, they like that little cool down, even though they are a hot plant. Tell me about this.
That's a creeping verbena. It's related to Homestead Purple, which a lot of people are familiar with, but this is a light purple variety. I got it from one of my swapping friends, plant swapping friends.
Aren't they wonderful groups? Yeah, I'm very excited to see that. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, here's another salvia, but it's a different variety.
Yeah, it's a different variety. They do really well in my garden. They like the sun that I get here, and as long as, you know, I throw them a little moisture occasionally, they do great.
Yeah, yeah. And then yet I'm drawn to another salvia.
Yeah, that's the variety Amistad, and that one isn't hardy here, but it roots easily from cuttings, and so every fall I take cuttings and propagate it. There's one other I do that for as well, and just keep them going because I've literally had hummingbirds dive bomb me to get to those blooms.
Wow. Of course, I know that you have a wonderful little secret place that has a nice clematis on it. What is the variety of this?
Oh, okay, so this is a variety Julia Corvon. And I do love the color of that, and that's just kind of my little nook there. I can just hide. At night, it's really peaceful there, and you can just kind of, you know, sit there with your glass of wine and enjoy it. Plus, I love my Puss in Boots statue I have back there.
Oh, well, you can kind of sneak away, and you know.
It's a good place to read a book.
We have to have a place to daydream, even though we look at our gardens, well, okay, whew, I've got this section finished. Oh, but you know what? We stop and we start to imagine and dream, and we need these places.
And if you don't ever take a break to appreciate your work, why are you doing it?
Exactly.
You know?
Well, I want to go see some more of your work, and there's some more plants that I've got to see.
Okay.
We're going to do a little English gardening now. I like your selection of plants in here. Why don't you start us off right here
Okay.
with your Snapdragon.
Okay, so this is a variety called Black Prince. I grew these from seeds. I have very good success with Snapdragons. A lot of people think of them as annuals,
They're not.
they are not. They will come back for 2 or 3 years at least, sometimes longer if you're lucky. And then beside it, I have one of the pink yarrows, Achillea, which is a very nice color. I have mostly, you know, pinks and purples in this area with a few departures into burgundies.
Yeah, and then this beautiful peony, which is, we are at the very end of this peony season, which has been the most beautiful I believe I've ever experienced.
Yeah, this is a nice one called Festiva Maximus, and I thought I'd lost it. It had been shaded out by other things, and I moved it 3 years ago, and this year it rewarded me.
That's wonderful. And then another beautiful Clematis. This variety is what?
Comtesse du Bouchard, or Bouchard, I think is how it's properly pronounced. And I used to have a giant rose here, but we had to take it out because of rosette. And so I replaced it with this Clematis, and I also have Jackmani up there above it as well.
I see the purple up on
So
the wall.
I'm trying to trade them all the way around the window so that it'll just be a window surrounded by Clematis.
Yeah, that's another whole world of plants and lots of things we could discuss. But let's talk about this pink rose.
This is a variety of English rose called Bowbells. It's a David Austin English rose. And this is one that I can no longer seem to find available to America. And so I may have to actually break down and propagate this one by cuttings because I would like to get another one. But it's a beautiful variety. But of course, we don't actually get all the ones. They don't continuously provide them to America.
And this continually puts a flush of blooms out. It doesn't do just spring and fall. It's kind of all summer long.
Yeah, pretty much all the roses in this garden are like that. They'll be blooming throughout the year.
I do like what the garlic creates of this element over here.
Yeah, it does the little swan neck thing. And the best thing about elephant garlic, other than the fact that it's very edible and it's a very mild flavored garlic, is the fact that it has such cute little blooms. The sheath from the onion head will come up and make a little cap, and they're just really ornamental as well as delicious.
And you know, it looks like the reeds in the water that the fish are gonna weave their way through.
Yep, that's intentional.
Oh gosh, I love it. And I definitely do love this. And I'm gonna put my fingers in this water. That's real water. It feels really good. Oh, and I'm gonna have to ask you about this plant right over here.
Oh, the Chinese foxglove. Yeah, I really like that. I've tried to grow, you know, regular digitalis foxgloves here, and they never seem to do well, but this does quite well here in this semi-shady spot. Doesn't seem to mind it when it gets a little dry in the heat of summer, and just does its thing, and it just kind of sprawls over the columbines and the spiderworts I have.
And you know, it's not something that is very common in lots of gardens, so you had to know something.
Or someone.
or someone that never hurts, does it?
No.
Well, there's one specimen, the creme de la creme of your garden that I would like to go and see and talk about.
Okay.
This is a beautiful rose bush with a beautiful beginning and outcome. Tell us about it.
So we call this in my family Mama's Rose, but I believe it is actually the Floribunda form of America. And you can often see America offered as a climbing rose, but I've not been able recently to locate a Floribunda form. My mother and my brother rooted these from cuttings from the original plant from our home where I grew up. And this was a Mother's Day rose my brother gave my mother in 1974. And so since that time, we've been growing this particular plant continuously, and I've personally grown this one for the last 25 years. This is one that I'm propagating by cuttings right now and distributing to a few friends as well as myself to ensure that, you know, if I try to transplant this and it doesn't make it, that I still have the rose.
You know, and what's exciting when I see this bush is I can see it's very, very happy and very vigorous because down inside it, I see brand new canes, I see brand new buds. All of that means there's a lot of vigor in the roots, and this is on its own root. It doesn't have to depend on that graft.
Yeah, it's pretty astonishing that it's actually done so well as an own root rose, which kind of makes me think that, you know, maybe people should try that a little bit more often.
And I know you are a plants person, you are a sharing person.
And a crazy plant lady.
And a crazy, and if I knew that you had one, I would have wanted one. Just like a plant. I like your shirt. But seriously, thank you for the effort and the time that you've put into this to share the beauty that we've been given to take care of.
Thank you so much, Annette. I appreciate it.
It's been a very good day.
Yeah, I agree.
For inspiring garden tours, growing tips, and garden projects, visit our website at volunteergardener.org or on YouTube at the Volunteer Gardener channel, and like us on Facebook.